some scary movie.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my boomstick. Here's Johnny.
I have to return some videotapes. We'll tear your soul apart.
Ooh. Can you hear that?
Yeah. It's for like GDPR as well. So like if you're having a meeting with somebody that they know they're being recorded.
Right. Oh, yeah. Cool. Right. You ready?
Yo.
Cool. It's weird doing it on a new place. Hello and welcome to All Things Horror, the podcast that reviews both horror movies old and new. I'm Ben and I'm here with Matt, and we're going to have a brief spoiler-free chat about today's movie before we go through the plot in a bit more detail. And then, as always, we'll finish off with our own personal ratings. So the movie today is going to be Basket Case 2 from 1990, written and directed by Frank Henenlotter.
Legend.
Yeah. You're a big fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love Frank Henenlotter.
Yeah.
He'd been my dream interview. He's not made a bad film. He's not made a lot of films, but the films he has made are like awesome.
Well, you introduced me to Frank Henenlotter because I'd never heard of him before, and like you introduced me to the first Basket Case because I hadn't seen that, and also Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
So it's good to do a little bit more, dive a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say all of them are great, and all of them are loads of fun, except Bad Biology, which is great but not fun.
Yes, I don't really know much about him. Like, obviously, I was doing some like research like for this episode, and I was wondering like because there was a bit of a gap between like his first movie was Basket Case, right? And then that was 82. And I don't think he did anything for about 6 years. And then Brain Damage came out. And then obviously he went and did this one, Case 2, back to back with Frankenhooker.
There's
1990. And then the following year, Basket Case 3. So he was busy later on. It's just it was a bit of a gap after his first film.
Yeah, I suppose making like his first short film in 72 kind of tells you more the generation he is. So it kind of makes sense that he would sort of tail off towards the 2000s, I guess. But yeah, there's like a busy period there with Basket Case 2, Frankenhooker, Basket Case 3, pretty much all done back to back. And I imagine that would have been really like. I think Basket Case 2 and 3 were actually filmed back to back, and I know that they weren't released in that order, but because Frankenhooker's kind of in the middle. But you see him in a few documentaries. He's like a real, indie film, grindhouse film, exploitation film aficionado, like just really into like the underground scene, and they're all like from Basket Case, Brain Damage, Frankenhooker. Obviously there's 3 Basket Case films. They're just bright and gooey and silly and fun and creative and just wild and unlike any other film. And I feel like Basket Case 2, or maybe even Brain Damage probably more where things started to go a little bit more silly and fun.
Yeah.
Whereas the first Basket Case is a little bit darker even though it has its silly moments. Basket Case 2 just is more. It's just like more. It's just like,
Yeah.
let's just do everything is more, like more characters, more goo, more silliness, more kind of over the top practical design. It's interesting. Did you notice a difference between the first and the second?
Absolutely, definitely. There is quite a significant kind of like tonal shift from the first one to the
Yeah,
second one. Like, I don't know, like the first one, it more follows Duane, like,
yeah,
and you see Belial as like just this horrible monster and that just kills everyone. But I don't know, this one it's more like you almost side more with Belial on this one rather than Duane. Like,
yeah.
it's not as bad in this one. I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely weird. Definitely the comedy side of it is amped up. Everything's
Yeah,
amped up. They've just heightened everything in this movie from this first one, I feel.
yeah. The sort of the characters that live with Granny Ruth are
Mm.
just bonkers in terms of the design. It's just like someone's just was like, just write down the first 15 strange things you can think of and make them into a character.
Yeah.
Like just imagine like a circus sideshow and how wild it could get, and just do that. Like as soon as Granny Ruth is like such an over the top character, over the top personality. It almost feels like you're in a musical or something from the moment she arrives. I think she's Annie Ross has got a history of like musical theatre and stuff like that, and it gets, without no spoilers, but it kind of goes more in that crazy over the top direction in the third one.
Right.
So like, did you? I mean, obviously, I think the first one's a better film,
Hmm.
but I don't like. I'm glad that this is completely different and not just like more of the same. They don't just go to another hotel and the same thing happens again.
Yeah.
You couldn't have predicted that this is how it was going to go.
No way. No. Like I really, before watching this one, because this was my first watch, before watching this, I didn't look at any spoilers. I didn't read through the plot beforehand. Like I wanted to go in it with fresh eyes, just to watch the film, see what happens. But before I pressed play, I was like, how are they gonna continue this?
Yeah,
Like how?
yeah. It's like supposed to pick up straight afterwards. Yet obviously he's 8 years older in real life, and
Right.
looks 8 years older. And some of the scenes where they're playing younger than they were in the first film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all right for Belial, but obviously for Duane, it's a bit different. He has to. I'd like to interview him as well. Like Kevin Van Hentenryck seems just like a real. I think I said this for some reason. Like we're friends on Facebook, and he's like he likes some of my stuff, and I like a lot of his stuff, and he just seems like a really cool. But he seems like one of those kind of New York arty people that I find really interesting, like outsider art kind of personality. It just seems like a very sensitive soul and a really nice person, which
Yeah.
is good because I think that works for Duane as a character. But then Duane is losing it, isn't he? More in this film, he's losing the plot. There's a few twists in there that I'd forgotten. I knew there was one particular twist, but I just couldn't remember what it looked like because I hadn't seen it for a couple of years. And I was like, oh yeah, that. There's some big massive clues earlier on, and you're like, oh okay,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen here, but I couldn't remember the exact specifics of it.
Yeah.
Like obviously, if you were to like, what's Belial going to get up to in this film? Like, oh, he's going to murder loads of people. Well, yeah, he does, but he that's not really a spoiler because that's what you'd expect.
Yeah.
But he's the only murderer really in the film to
Yeah.
a certain like of no. And he's he is. He's like a weapon of destruction being used by other people in this. So it's different. It's not like just him deciding to do it. And then, yeah, it's interesting. So I guess that makes him more sympathetic because he's not really doing I mean, blimey, he even falls in love. So
Yeah.
we even have
Yeah.
a sensitive lovemaking scene with Belial. So
Oh yeah, there. That's quite the scene.
I bet nobody was expecting that.
I mean, I was really surprised they made a sequel, but like, I read online that apparently Frank Henenlotter he was adamant that there couldn't be a sequel because the audience knew what was in the basket.
Yeah,
All the doctors that the first film was based on, the revenge, they're all gone, they're all killed,
yeah.
and then like Duane and Belial, they died. Well, it seemed like they died anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, they like I suppose like any film, we can always find a way to bring. It's like Friday the 13th or
Yeah, I was
something, isn't
literally going to say that. It's like
it?
every ending of Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm
Yeah,
Street or Halloween. No, he's dead.
yeah.
Oh, but they'll find a way to bring him back.
I was thinking like how different, like you said, it's massively tonally different. But it has to be because that film literally was like ended, done. Everything's tied up. Everything's tied up perfectly.
Yeah.
So he has to just go like bonkers. And there's like, it's funny. I don't know Frank Henenlotter, but like I read that like he was just drinking tons and tons of cola, like Jolt Cola, which you see across the full film. You see Jolt Cola loads in the film. I don't know if you noticed, there's tons of Jolt Cola.
Right. No, I didn't know.
I've never had Jolt Cola, but when I was trying to write, when I used to write things, I used to always have loads and loads of like Diet Coke. For some reason, it just made me kind of fire in a creative way. And I'd write loads and loads and loads. And I was like, oh, that's like Frank Henenlotter. Like, because some of this, yeah, it's just.
Was it Jolt Cola?
Yeah.
I need to look this up.
As you're watching the film, you can see, because I wasn't even sure if Jolt Cola was a made up drink, like from The Simpsons or something. It feels like something like that. But yeah, it's a real American brand.
One there.
Yeah, there's loads of them. So if you watch the film back now, you'll see Jolt Cola all over the film. It's really distracting. So yeah, he's kind of fueled on that, and that's exactly what I would have done as well. Like I'd have just drank loads of cola, loads of Diet Coke. For some reason, Diet Coke makes me more creative, and I would that's what I did when I did my screenwriting dissertation. I just drank bottles and bottles of Diet Coke and got it done in like record time. Because I was just sitting there pondering and I was just like, no, I need to do it. So I just guzzled it and wrote and wrote and wrote. And it's weird that he did the same thing. So yeah, there's I guess what he's doing is he's just kind of expanding the universe before people expanded universes. He's like, it's like a whole house of Belials, but it's not just like they're all like Belial. That'd be too easy.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be too boring for Frank Henenlotter.
So is Frank Henenlotter, is he like one of your go-to directors? Like, because I know you're really into your kind of like strange, unique, underground cult kind of films.
I would say he's one of my favorite horror directors in terms of like you're going to get something different with him. I put it alongside films like Terrorvision, but like Ted Nicolau, who made Terrorvision, I think he had an idea to make other films similar to that, but then he went off and did like Subspecies, which are a bit more traditional vampire horror kind of things. But what I appreciate about Henenlotter is that every film he does is just like a completely unique and like blindingly obvious to a certain degree. Like the idea is quite simple, but then how he executes it is totally different than how anybody else could do it. There's bits like Brain Damage, for example. I'm looking at a Brain Damage poster here, and like, to have that kind of talking kind of gland is just insane. And the same with Belial, and the same with Frankenhooker. That they're iconic, but they're not like £1 billion or £1 million of money's gone into it. It's just he is just such a perfectly creative dude. So I think he is one of my favorites. It's a shame that there's not like, but then again, I don't think I'd want him to have just bashed out 15 films and like 10 of them have been good and 5 of them be bad. Like, it's better to just have a load of like shot a small amount of great films, I think.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? I've just thought of something. Where is it? There it is. When I got this VHS signed, Freddie's down. When I got this VHS signed, I realised on the back Yeah. Look, so this is my Hills Have Eyes VHS that I got signed by Michael Berryman, and
Yeah.
on the back it's got other ones here. I don't know if you can see. Where's the camera? There it is.
Oh yeah, Brain Damage, Basket
Yeah,
Case. Yeah.
Hills Have Eyes,
Ah,
Evil Dead 2. Yeah,
yeah.
Brain Damage and Basket Case. There, look.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's so weird as well that like people think that there may be like nasty films, but I would say like Henenlotter films are not really that nasty. There's
Mm,
always they're so absurd and silly. They're more cartoony than nasty.
yeah.
There's the
Yeah.
only one that I could argue is nasty is Bad Biology,
Right.
and I feel like that's because he made it later in his career, and kind of that it was around the time of films like Hostel and
Mm.
Saw, and it kind of felt like it had to be his version of that, which made there was definitely silly and over the top stuff in there, but it just felt a little bit more, a little bit less fun than
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
the Henlotter I like.
It's funny.
Um,
It's funny you
yeah.
say it's kind of like cartoony because I did also read that that was one of the main things that Henenlotter said to the special effects makeup artists, like all the freaks,
Mm.
like up in the house. Like he actually said, I want them quite cartoony.
Yeah,
They are. I
yeah,
mean, some of the designs on these creatures, I'll get to it when we go through the plot, but some of the designs for these freaks, like it's literally like you've just given a little kid a crayon and said, "Oh, make a monster," and there's like,
yeah, and that's what makes it so
do it.
unique and so fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only creator I can think of who I kind of respect in a similar way, who's maybe got a slightly different approach, is Stuart Gordon, a Reanimator.
Yeah.
And that, but his is more like from a theatre background, and but equally as creative, and there's definitely an emphasis on things you've never seen before and bright colors and things you've never seen before. There's only really those two that I would put in a kind of bracket. You know, it's just great, really, isn't it, to have that,
Mm.
like that, to have that ability to do it, because what you'll see is people who try and do something similar and fail,
Mm.
and the only difference is like creativity, sort of unique talent. um you could throw loads of money at a film and you couldn't make a Frank Henenlotter film.
Yeah.
You'd have to be Frank Henenlotter.
Yeah. And I feel like you get those films when the director is actually the guy that's written the films as well. Like, because
True.
you have more control over what happens. Because
Yeah.
a lot like Clive Barker, like Hellraiser and Nightbreed, they were his books. He wrote them and then he
True.
made them into film. So he had like the perfect vision of what he wanted.
Yeah, like Clive Barker's like a sort of an S&M version of, who takes himself a little bit more seriously than Frank Henenlotter, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of similarities in terms of creativity, and also a lot of similarities with Stuart Gordon. Probably more similarities because you've got that kind of theatre background and writing background with a group of people that Stuart Gordon had, but also also they had the whole Hellraiser crew did, and when they were in Liverpool. So it's surrounding yourself by that crew, but there's always that one person who's got that special spark. And you're right, Clive Barker has that. Stuart Gordon has it. Henenlotter definitely has it. Dario Argento is another one who, yes, has a great group of people around him, but there's no replacing him. He's the key to it all, the ringmaster, I guess.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's all I've really got for pre-spoilers. I'm quite interested to get into the plot.
Yeah, if there is a plot.
Should we jump into it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Spoiler warning.
All right. So the movie starts off basically where the first one ends. Duane and his deformed, surgically separated, conjoined twin brother Belial. Oh, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
They're taken to the hospital after falling from the hotel window, and that draws media attention, making it almost impossible to keep it a secret. So they're rescued by Granny Ruth, who takes them to her home where she and her daughter Susan care for the other deformed individuals. Yeah.
She's important.
Yeah, I honestly, like I said earlier, I honestly I weren't sure where they were going to go with this movie.
Yeah.
Like in true horror fashion, they just take it to the next level. They just amp everything up.
Yeah, they just
People
took a
like
hard right
Belial,
turn.
so they've given them more Belials.
Yeah.
A whole
Yeah.
house full of them.
Yeah, Granny Ruth is the massive. She becomes almost the central character for this film and the next one, and you're just like, where did that come from? But I guess there was nobody left from the last film other than the two central characters.
Yeah.
I suppose the only thing that doesn't work for me so much is this idea of like this little newspaper people trying to find or TV crew trying to find them. Like, yes, that is definitely a part of it, and it leads to some interesting scenes, but that's where you can really tell the budget of it. Like they're just in like a little broom closet, and like there's only those two people who work for the newspaper, or three people who work for the newspaper, or I can't remember if it's a newspaper or TV company. I can't remember, but it's like, yeah, they're like that's incidental, but it's a good way of like. Obviously, they have to hide away, don't they? Because of what's happened, they escape, get away.
And I do really like how Belial gets a girlfriend. Like his own love story.
Yeah. And we get like sweet Belial lovemaking, saxophone, gentle, and like how a camera would pan over the bodies of people when they're having a love scene. But obviously, we don't know which bit of Belial is which, and it's like just kind of just randomly moving around, which I think is quite comedic and quite funny. And only Henenlotter would make a love scene, a tender, sweet love scene with Belial as the main, like not Duane. Duane has issues with like later on, and he's not as accepting and not as kind of accepting of himself and as comfortable with himself as Belial is. Like Belial must love himself. That's why he's allowed somebody to love him. And Belial's more centered, and Belial's less insane in this film, less bonkers. And Duane is more bonkers. And I guess it's like saying there's maybe a little bit of a comment there on like you might look perfectly normal on the outside, but you might have your own demons and be all mixed up on the inside.
I mean, it's just funny, like, because I don't know, like, if you hadn't seen this film yet, so you've seen the first one, you love the first one, and before you watch this, someone says, "Oh, Belial, the freak that's in the basket. Oh, in the next film, he gets a girlfriend. There's a sex scene. Oh, yeah, it's great. He falls in love." What?
Yeah, you'd be like, not Duane, the brother. No, not the Duane, the brother. No.
The surgically removed.
Yeah, because essentially he's just like a bit of gristle taken off his brother.
Yeah, but when you see it, it's actually quite sweet.
Yeah, and there is a heart to it, because obviously Henenlotter loves these characters and cares about these characters and wants them. He's never like laughing at them, like any of the characters. He's never laughing at them. You're laughing at the situations he puts them in and the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
And horror fans will love the fact that, there's no judgment on the way they look there is by some of the other characters, the so-called like people from normal society, that they can't accept them. But Granny Ruth can accept, and, her daughter can. And Duane wants the problem is that Duane wants to be part of that normal world, but he's being pulled back into the fact, and he can't accept that he isn't part of it.
Yeah,
and he doesn't know how to deal with that, and that's kind of quite interesting. He's the problem in this film. Like Duane is the problem, and his mindset.
So here's a question: is Granny Ruth a good person? Because there was a couple of scenes where she kind of like sets things up, like when they go to that guy that owns like a freak show kind of
Yes.
thing, and it's all bullshit. She brings Belial with him for that reason,
Yeah,
for him
she's
to kill
using
him.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's using him. She uses him. I don't know if she's done the same in the past. Has she done the same with some of those other characters? Maybe.
Eve,
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
Belial, the other
Yeah.
basket.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was just like she seems like a nice person, but then you get these little scenes here and there. It's like, well, she just basically murdered that guy.
Yeah, and also she's like manipulating and kind of exploiting Belial. Um, fair enough. She's exploiting him in a way that, well, she's keeping them all separate from society because she knows that society won't accept them. So she's obviously been through this, through what happened to her daughter, and she's obviously had some negative experiences, but now there's anger and bitterness there as well as kind of protective feelings and motherly feelings of them, and or grandmotherly feelings towards them. Yes, she is protecting them and looking after them. It's the same sort of conversation that you could have about like X-Men, and like the difference between Professor X's approach and Magneto's approach.
True.
Like what they'll always see us this way. Well, no, not if we try and do it this. Like Duane's thinking more like, oh well, I can just kind of assimilate into normal human life, and Granny Ruth's like, you'll never be accepted.
Yeah.
And but then she'll do things that will make sure that they never get accepted. So it's a tricky one. It's probably stuff that I don't know. I'd imagine Frank Henenlotter did think a bit about it, but it's like she has enemies and she has feelings of revenge. So she is a bad person, but then some of those things are justified because there are bad things happening to bad people. So it all depends on what you see as justice, isn't it? What do you think justice is as the viewer? Like, you might watch a film and go, like, watch Death Wish, for example, and be like, well, they all deserve to be killed because of what happened to Charles Bronson's family. Like, and you go, well, that's fine, it's acceptable. Like an eye for an eye. No, I'm a bit more like that. I kind of feel a bit like that, like fair. Like I have a really enhanced feeling of fairness, everything. Yeah. But life isn't fair. So sometimes you have to accept that and deal with what you've got. So it's tricky. Yeah. I've never even thought about this in relation to this film because I just watch it and it's fun. It's fun. And I think in the next one, there's even less of a plot.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So like, yeah, I won't give any spoilers, but it's just like funny and gory, and that's very, very difficult to do. But there's also some heart to it. And like I said, I think the important thing is like they're not just laughing at them and go, oh, the freaks, like and laughing at them. Henenlotter doesn't do that, and I think that would endear the film to people who are maybe like horror films and maybe feel a little bit different to people who don't.
Yeah. So Duane, he wants to leave and move on with his life, away from Belial. And while they sort their grudges out against each other, we see some sleazy reporters, Marcy and Artie. They've been looking for the Bradley brothers. But the freaks, they turn against them and they kill Artie along with a private detective before then going after Marcy, subsequently turning her into a freak. Which,
they structure.
Yeah. The good old stretch and twist.
Yeah. They're trying to make her into Moonface.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right, something I really want to say, right, is I'm totally down for how the freaks look. I think there's some great characters going on there. But why did they feel the need to change Belial so much? I feel like he's so far different from the first one. And that's probably my biggest peeve with this movie. Like, he seemed so far away from the original. Like, the original, he was so simple, gritty. Obviously, it was mostly just one static thing.
Yeah.
But he seemed to change not only his looks, but throughout the movie, there was a few different variations of him.
I think,
there
I
was
think
some
you're
like
right.
CGI in the eyes going on, and there was
I think
one
that's
part where he
because
was laughing quite a lot. And
I think that's because he needs to do more in this film, and whereas he was just kind of like almost like a puppet in a box more in the first one. So I think it's just more like thinking of interesting ways of making him do stuff, but also maybe getting a little bit carried away with the ability to do that.
Yeah. Probably trying to keep up with the times at the time. But as we know from experience, 90s weren't the best time for messing around with experimentation for CGI or practical effects in those puppetry, should I say, not really practical effects, but yeah.
It'd be interesting if we watch the third one to see if because you might notice that more than me. Because I'll be honest, I didn't notice a massive difference, but now you say it, I do. And obviously, in the first one, I noticed obviously Belial's not really doing as much.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't, because they literally couldn't. They didn't have the money for it, and then or even probably the ability or the people working with them, to do it. So yeah, maybe they should have just amped it up about 25%, and but then again, that's Frank Henenlotter, isn't it? Like he's gonna push the envelope and do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I don't know what the budget difference was on this one, because obviously he'd gone on to do what was the other one? Brain Damage, and was Frankenhooker before this? I know they were back to back.
Yeah, so Frankenhooker's between 2 and 3. So Brain Damage is before 2.
Right.
And like Brain Damage, I think he learned a lot on that, because that's 2 years before Basket Case 2.
Right.
And there's some similarities.
I'm just wondering how much of a budget difference there was if he tried using stuff that he couldn't utilize in the first one. Because I remember from us doing the first one, the budget was very small.
Yeah, tiny. And I think that the success of the success of Brain Damage is kind of what allowed them to then have the funding and amp things up again. So there's maybe practical effects wise, there's without watching it in order, you won't see the leap. There's a kind of middle ground between Basket Case and Basket Case 2 that you'll see in Brain Damage, like the puppetry and the special effects and stuff. Brain Damage was a little bit more controversial, but then again, there seems to be stories of people who were working on Henenlotter films, and then certain funny things that he thinks are funny written down, when they come to do them, people walk off the set and decide they don't want to do them.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bit of that. There's a bit of that in Brain Damage. There's one particular scene in Brain Damage that I think was a bit. People were like, "Oh, blimey!"
Oh,
okay. Yeah. But funnily enough, if they were to carry on and watch Bad Biology, then it's pretty tame.
Right. Did you have a favorite freak in this one?
I do like Moonface, or whatever it's called, Moonhead, Moonface. They're all good. The one that freaks me out a little bit is the kind of smiley face that looks like he's playing a panpipe. That's kind of like
the one with the big teeth.
Yeah, it looks like he's playing some sort of musical instrument.
That where's the camera? That one there.
Yeah, the far right. That one. Yeah, not far right politically, but far right of the picture. But yeah,
I think my favorite is this guy here.
Oh yeah, he looks like that one reminds me a bit of a character from Star Wars.
He does. Yeah.
The ears remind me of our current king.
He's like a massive rat. Man.
Looks a bit like Prince Charles, I think. A little bit like Prince Charles.
Prince Charles.
That one's a bit more
really cool.
Yeah. I do like Moonface. I just think it's like you said, it's like giving a kid crayons.
Is that where's the camera? I can't line this up. Is that moon?
Yeah, that's like a kind of crescent moon. Yeah. Because this frog boy, There's loads of toothy ones. There's one that has like 27 noses. But that's just like you said to a kid, you'd just be like, oh, can you make like a really weird, fun character? They're like, oh, just give it 27 noses.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh, okay. Well, Worm Man, what's Worm Man look like? I don't know. You work it out. Like, it's just bonkers. I'm trying to find out if he has got. There's Mouse Face, Worm Man, Huge Arthur, Half Moon. That's what it's got, Half Moon.
Wow.
And that is actually David MG from Dawn of the Dead, Stephen from Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, which one is that? Because I tried figuring out which one he was. I see.
Yeah, so
but I couldn't figure out which one he was.
So he's basically the main hero from Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah. But what freak was he?
Oh, he's the Half Moon.
Oh, he's the Half Moon, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to recognize. You wouldn't be able to recognize him because his face is literally a giant half moon. Yeah, he passed away. He passed away like because he was going to be. I used to go to the Weekend of the Dead, and he was. I think he was either at the last one or passed away just after the last one and didn't go. But he passed away in January 2024. Half Moon. I just love the names like Huge Arthur.
Is that the one with all the noses?
That's the noses. I don't see that many noses. 27 noses, but maybe there's some on the back.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Live nose counting.
I count 12. Oh no, 13. I count 13, but there might be
so there's 14 on the back, or some on the body, maybe.
Yeah, who says they're all on the face?
Yeah, could be one on his willy. To blow his nose every time he goes to the toilet.
All right, so later that night, they all celebrate in the garden, and Belial and Eve, they're getting freaky. Pardon. In the egg.
They really are.
Yeah. And Duane, he also wants some action, so him and Susan go for it, but she reveals that she's also a freak, and
she's a freak in the sheets.
She's been pregnant for 6 years, and her baby just refuses to leave the womb. So with that, a great big grotesque creature pops out of her body. So Duane, he then goes a little bit crazy and decides to push her out the window, ultimately killing her. Oops. And then he then goes and takes Belial and starts sewing him back onto himself. End scene.
And that's it. Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers. It'd be funny if he was kind of like okay with it. It was like, oh, you've got this baby inside you, and like tries to coax it out. It's just like, hey, I think you should come out now. But it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I just love
Gabe
how
Bartelos did the.
All the freaks, like they go in, they see him there, just standing like with sewn on Belial back onto himself, and like you can just tell by them, they're like, okay, well, you're a bit of a freak.
Yeah, they're like, Duane, I don't want to say, coming from us, but you're a bit of a freak. So like, this is a big like step forward in everything, really, because I think Gabe Bartelos, who did the main special effects on this, who's still doing them now, who did like the one that I always get the name wrong of, the sort of follow up to Army of the Dead, the Zack Snyder thing. But he's done so many great. He did one of the greatest films of all time. He did Leprechaun 4 in space. He did the special effects for that. He did Munchie. He did Basket Case 3. He did Back to the Future: The Ride. He did Dead Space, Darkman, Gremlins 2. He was in Rick Baker's crew for Gremlins 2. Dolls. I was talking about Stuart Gordon earlier on. From Beyond, another amazing Stuart Gordon film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Jason Lives. Nice. Like, he's done loads. So this is good stuff. You know, it's funny, people don't mention Gabe Bartelos as much as they mention like Tom Savini. Even if you go on to Gabe, I was looking at this before, if you go on to Gabe Bartelos's page, the first thing you see is a picture of Tom Savini.
Really?
Yeah, which I'd be absolutely delighted with that if I'd worked my entire life in special effects. So then click on my page and see a video for Tom Savini as the first thing. But yeah, I'm sure he doesn't care. But but yeah, it's wild, that moment where the stomach opens up.
You know what? I obviously I picked up early on. All right, something's not quite right with this girl. Shit, there's going to be something.
When she says something,
Yeah,
doesn't she?
but I was expecting that Susan and Eve were going to have like the same situation where they were conjoined and they got removed, and that's why she kept calling herself a freak. That's what I was expecting. I thought they were going to get to their sex scene, see this great big scar on the side, the same as what Duane has, and be like, "Oh,
okay, yeah, that would make sense. That's why he didn't do it."
Yeah. It makes too much sense.
He's like, no, of course there's going to be a baby in there that doesn't want to come out.
Oh, right. Let's jump to our ratings. I'm interested to see what you think of this one.
Oh, well, I was really interested because I was like, he's either going to really enjoy this and just be like, take it for what it is and think it's a load of fun, or he's going to be like, this is nothing like the first one. I don't like it at all. So I know, and my prediction is I don't think you will think it's as good as the first one, but I don't think it's as good as the first one either. I just think it's completely different. Yeah. So I'm going to give it. I'm hovering. I'm going to give it 6.5. No, I'm going to give it 7. I'm going to give it 7. I love this film. 7.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I am also giving it a 7.
Wait, that doesn't happen very often.
No. It's quite unlikely we do the same score. I looked back and I gave the first one an 8.
Yeah.
I had a really hard time trying to find a rating for this film.
Yeah.
It definitely was a ride, put it that way. Was it better than the first? No, I don't think so. Was it more entertaining? Absolutely. My only critique is I wish they'd stuck more to the original design of Belial.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm sure because there was quite a gap between the first and second one. There was a lot less budget on the first one, so I'm sure they tried to keep up with the times and improve him. But I just really like the cheap grittiness of the first one. However, the story-wise, I thought it was really intriguing. I was very pleasantly surprised on how they managed to make a sequel. I thought it was good. And I'll give it a 7. And I really am interested to see what they do with the third one.
Oh man, I'm so rubbish at keeping secrets. I really want to tell you, but no, I'm not. I won't.
Tell you what, I might watch it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, cool. So we got 7 and 7. Wow. Yeah, just to wrap up.
Did I give the last one 9 or 10?
Oh, let me have a look.
I feel like it was one of the two. I definitely wouldn't have given it less than 9.
Ratings, where was it? The Burning, The Fog, Basket Case was episode 58. I gave it a... Oh my God. You gave it a 10.
Yes.
you gave the first Basket Case a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Wrap up time. I thought since we're on a bit of a comedy horror run at the moment, last episode being Evil Dead 2, this one being Basket Case 2, I thought it'd be kind of fun to stick with it and go for the silly kind of like horror-ish vibes. So this is going back to 1985 and it's going to be House.
No, so I've seen all the House films. I didn't get along with them, but as much as I think you do. But I'm going maybe the same like nostalgia. I don't have the same nostalgia for them, but I'm going to give them a good go this time. I'm going to give it a better go this time.
All right. Yeah. The first one is one of my favorite comedy horrors. Like it was one of my early on kind of horrors that I watched. So that's
I remember people at school talking about it for some reason. Yeah, kids seem to go, "Oh, have you seen House?"
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Cool. I mean, that's all I've really got. Unless you got anything you want to wrap up on.
No, I'm like I said, I'm gonna try and be a little bit more open-minded. I think maybe I got a box set and watched them all back to back, and then sometimes you're in danger of mixing them all up and forgetting which is which. So I'm gonna have to try and be a little bit more open-minded. So that's a good one. Yeah.
All right, sweet. Shall I see us out?
Yes.
Awesome. So if you've liked today's episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We love hearing from you, so why not drop a comment down below? Maybe do your personal rating if you've seen Basket Case 2. Yeah, that's a wrap for today. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. House.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my